So a couple of things that people might not know about me. I do have a twin sister. We look nothing alike, we're fraternal. So I'm 5'7", she's about 5'2", so she's much shorter and much more petite than I am. And she's got naturally like ringlet curls, whereas I have pretty much straight hair. This isn't natural. It's just a curly iron. I do know how to braid my fingers, which is a very odd thing, but I put it on my resume because sometimes people will ask about it. So I'll show you because otherwise I look like a liar. Fingers braided, just saying. And I am deathly afraid of rubber bands. I don't know why. I wasn't really snapped with them that much as a child, so it's not like, you know, this horrible memory. I just find them to be absolutely terrifying. I was probably about 14 years old, and there was a national tour of Casper the Musical, which no one remembers because it really wasn't a very good show, but it came through Dallas, and they put in an audition notice in the paper for a children's chorus, which is basically just kids from the area could come and audition to be the children's chorus in the show. And I guess they did this in each city they went to. And I did not want to do it. I was terrified. I was painfully shy. And my twin sister wanted to. And my grandmother, who actually lives in Cincinnati but was down visiting us, convinced me that I should do it too. And I was like, okay. I'm like terrified. I'm like sweating and I'm like nauseous. And you know, I didn't even have to do anything by myself. Like we were in this big massive group and they taught us the song and we just sang it and they just walked by us and we was just singing. Anyway, I got in and so did my sister. So we kind of went through the rehearsal process and did, I think it was like 8 shows. It was like hook, line, and sinker, I'm done. Like I have to do this. It's too much fun to not be on stage. As far as the role of Sarah Pennington, I actually hadn't done really any film at all before I moved to Cincinnati in 2010. And I was here for about a year, and then I started to get into, you know, community theater and stuff. And people were like, "Oh, you should try out for this film or this commercial or something like that, or you should look into this agency." And I did, and again, it was like the same thing. I like did it one time, and it was like hook, line, and sinker. And I heard about the audition for The Watchers, and I was like, okay, well this will be a cool opportunity. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive for me to go to this audition, but it'll be a great experience, and I'm not expecting to get in. And I came and I did my audition, and then I got a call and they were like, "Hey, we want you to be Sarah Pennington." So, you know, it had been a while. I went back and looked at the sheet of characters that I had read for, and I was like, oh, so I'm gonna have like lines, like a lot of lines, and I'm gonna be in a lot of these scenes. Okay, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, but thanks for this opportunity. It was sort of a shot in the dark, but really, really glad that it all worked out the way it did. I think probably the way that I am like my character or best relate to my character, while I don't have children, and she was obviously married and then after her husband died, a single mom, I do have a younger sister who Carissa, the girl who plays Kara, actually reminded me a lot of. My little sister's 8 years younger than me, so she's about 18 now, but she was a lot like Carissa when she was younger. So I kind of took that and used it to sort of help me relate to Sarah and how I would feel if my little sister was in trouble, as to how I would feel as Sarah if Kara was in trouble. And I also think that Sarah's a very, you know, compassionate person, but also very realistic. And I tend to be sort of the same way, a little bit pragmatic, I guess. I went to school for theater for about 2 years, and then decided that I didn't want to live in a cardboard box and I maybe wanted to eat every once in a while, so I switched my major to education, so I had something that was like salad. So I think in those ways I really related to her. It's sort of tragic in a way, really. I had a problem with my eye that forced us to basically change the filming schedule for, I think, the last couple of weekends because I couldn't open my eye and I couldn't see out of it. So we rescheduled everything and everyone was just delightful about it. And we get to the day of filming and we're filming in this warehouse, unfinished, so there's dust everywhere and there's sawdust and all of this stuff. And we're filming the last scene where there's wind and gusts and explosion type things, and they're being very careful because obviously my eye is still healing, and we're about to film this part where Titus and I are both on the ground, and there's gonna be a gust of wind that comes at us. And unfortunately, Russell, who is in the show, he accidentally, it was a leaf blower that was gonna create this wind effect on us. And we're looking up, taking direction, and he accidentally flipped it on. And so all of this dust and sawdust just goes right at our faces. And I mean, we're both immediately like, down! And he like turns it off immediately. And the first thing I hear is Tom, the director, I hear Tom going, "Kaitlin, are you okay?" And I was like, "I think so." And he was like, "No, are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm good. We're good." Russell was like, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, "It's fine. Things happen. It's cool." I was like, "I still have an eye. I can still see. I didn't hurt anything." But it was like hilarious because he felt so bad about it. I found it hilarious, but everybody else was freaking out because we already had to reschedule once because I am a disaster sometimes. He's hilarious. He's just lovely as a person. From the second I met him in auditions, every communication we had leading up to filming, and then I think the first day I showed up, I was incredibly nervous because this was my first sort of experience with a feature-length film, and then I was one of the main characters in it, and so I was like, "You guys made a mistake, like, I don't know what I'm doing." And he was like, "You're just great. I mean, you're just great." And that really sort of like put me at ease. So from then on, it was just like every time I showed up to set, it was something that I really looked forward to. Even on the days when I had to be super emotional and crying and look like a disaster and think about all these sad things, it was still, he was so encouraging and so just a joy to be around as a director. And I think one of the things I appreciated most was that even when a shoot was taking longer than it should have or was supposed to, even when it was really late and we'd been there forever, for so many hours, he still, it was just positive attitude and let's get this done, and can I, do you need anything from me? If I had a question about a scene or how he wanted me to play something, he was always, "I just think you're spot on," or "Why don't you try it this way?" It was always just extremely helpful, which as an actor, I really appreciate a director who not only puts their faith in you, but encourages you along the way. And so I think overall, I would, without a doubt, love to work with him again. He's great. Whenever we're on set, I am business when it's time to film. Like, I do my best to know my lines and know what's going on and be in the moment. But when they all cut, I'm not distracting per se, but I just like to have a good time. So there was a lot of time spent in between scenes and when they're setting up shots and, just at lunch or whenever, and I would just be ridiculous. So we would end up singing Tomorrow from Annie as we were setting up the next shot, in the cabin, or I would be outside teaching Carissa how to do a time step as we're, waiting for, okay, and this is where we gotta figure out how this camera's gonna fit because, we have to get them looking this way. And so I'm like, well, might as well just time step, it's fine. Carissa, come here, I'll show you this, ready? Stomp. And that was pretty much the entirety of my experience outside of the filming of the movie, was me just being a goofball. I really don't think it would have any impact on my faith at all. I feel like everything in the universe God created. So if there is other life out there, He had a hand in that too. I also think He has a master plan, which obviously we try and figure out, but we can't really. So I have this just amount of faith that no matter what happens, if I am a good person and I follow the teachings and I listen to what is in my heart that God's telling me, then, I can pretty much get through anything. So if there's life out there, cool. Come on by. Love to meet you. Because I think God has a pretty good idea of, I think He's pretty much got it down. I think He knows what He's doing. And I trust that.